What up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of B.O.P. This is your boy AD, and we got the co-hosts in the building. We got C. Roll in the building. We got Jules in the building. We got Mike G in the building. What up, fellas? How y'all doing?
Good evening. Good evening.
Good. How about you?
Doing pretty good. We had a interesting day today. We saw a lot of things happen. In Columbus, Ohio.
Mhm.
With Ohio State having their pro day today. And it was a lot of talk and a lot of fuss going on because I guess it was somebody throwing and somebody catching and running. What was it? We had what is his name? CJ Stroud.
Yeah,
CJ Stroud had his pro day today and kind of had a pretty damn good pro day. And we had,
Jesus
I
Christ, Jigba.
said, look, Jesus Christ and Jibba was
Jesus Christ, the Jigba was catching passes today.
catching passes and ran a 40 today. So, what are y'all thoughts? And we also saw some
Conviction.
conviction, but behind one team, not named Houston Texans. So, what are y'all thoughts about all that happened with the pro day today?
I think
Well,
Jules go ahead.
I'm
Let
in
go
I'm
ahead.
in mourning right now because CJ was my number one quarterback coming into the draft. I was high on well levels for a minute. That died out real quickly halfway through the season. CJ was my guy, but then when you trade up for a number one pick and you bring your horses, your dogs, your cats, your moms, your second cousins all the way to Ohio to watch a dude throw the ball in shorts, and you kind of confirm what you want to go forward. But hey, man, and we get Bryce. I'm not crying over spilled milk. He's a good prospect. I like CJ a little bit better, and especially in this offense. Still just my choice, but um, he gone though. He's gone. I've said it. I said it before. Nobody heard me when I said Indiana and Ohio ain't that far apart from each other. And Frank Wright was here all half a season. That he was iron CJ when he was up here, and he went to Carolina. They trade up for him. It is what it is. Move on to the next player.
What you got, Mike?
I mean, it's a wonderful day, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, baby.
Alabama fans. Oh Lord.
I mean, I guess I might as well just drop this now.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Yes,
man. I'm excited. If they end up doing the exact same thing for Bryce Young tomorrow, which I don't expect, but it's possible, then the narrative will shift and it'll be a 50-50 thing. But um, I think I think most people have felt this way based off the reports we've heard that the Panthers prefer C.J. Stroud or Coleridge Bernard.
Coleridge.
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 And I mean, how did y'all think Jackson Smith and Jigba did?
I think Jesus Christ and the Jigba did pretty good. I mean, he walked on water. He turned water into wine. He just amazed everybody with a clocked a hand timed 40 of 4.53, which translates to combine time of a 4.8.
Mm-mm.
But yeah, man, I just found it pretty interesting that the Carolina Panthers, uh, the owner of the team, he took his recliner up there, he brought his jet, he took his wife and his side chick. You know, the offensive coordinator, quarterback coach, they even brought Caldwell up there with them. They had the laundry detergent guy that checks the detergent. The janitor came. They had a videographer. I think they pretty much stole their hand. They gave away their hand, and then if you watched afterwards when they talked to him, I mean, they couldn't stop giving him hugs and shaking his hand, and they didn't want him to leave. And I think,
No, I say
go ahead.
speaking of that, man. There's this thing out there, that's going around that's making its waves. You know,
Mm. Oh, hug the owner.
let's talk about it.
Uh, uh,
Nah, he said it. He said it. When you come to Carolina, we can play ball. He said it.
Mm.
The-
Y'all hear it?
Mm-mm. Oh, you can hear it. Yeah, there it come. There you go, right there.
Mm-hmm.
When you come to Charlotte, we find your one. Now, if we just want to go straight off of the pro days, he did what he's supposed to do. He did what the tape says he's gonna do. He made throws. He's gonna throw. There's nothing that he did to make you say that he's not one of the top quarterbacks in the draft. Nothing really just made you say, oh, overly impressed what he did. His tape, his pro day and combine, and his demeanor. He put himself in conversation for the top two quarterbacks in the draft this year.
Mm-hmm.
they did everything but kiss little babies.
That's it.
Hey, that's your niece. Hey, baby, how you doing?
All
Come,
right.
come on to Charlotte.
Pretty
You know,
much.
there is a small contingent of Texans, disappointed that the Houston Texans didn't give out that same kind of effort for Rich Bernard and Bryce Young is what the Panthers are doing. But the Panthers are doing what they normally do, which is pomp and circumstance and just showing out for the masses, putting on for the city. Of what they in Charlotte, right?
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, putting on for Charlotte, making the fans of the Panthers feel good and everything like that, because all them people that came, like Chris say, the baby mama, the side chick, and all them that came, they was gonna be there in Carolina when CJ come down there and visit them on his top 30 visit and do his individual workout and everything like that with them as well. So it's all for show. They putting on, and I think it got so much traction, and this is just me. I don't think it was scheduled with Bryce. I think that because they got so much traction and so much comments about how many people were gonna be there, they said, "Oh shit, we got we got to come back and we got to do the same for Bryce. We can't tip our hand too much."
We got
Yeah,
It's all for ratings, and for the
yeah,
for the for the Texan fans that complain that they didn't show up, you can say on one hand you can say, well, they kind of figured that they talked to the Carolina Panthers or people talked about it, the agents talk, who you want to talk. They kind of knew that Carolina was going with CJ. There was no point in sending everybody down there if you wanted that. And then also they didn't do that for next last year when they signed up when they got Stingley. No one showed
yeah.
to his pro day like this, so Nick trusts his scout department, which is one of the best scouts in the land. They, they
Mhm.
they sent 4 or 5 people to watch him. It is what it is. It's nothing to cry about. People stop crying
And,
about everything when it comes to Nick Casario.
and I put this on the point in time. If you are a GM front office and you're picking top of the draft and you haven't done your due diligence on these prospects, even the Tyree Wilsons and the Jalen Carters and the Will Andersons of the world, if you haven't done your due diligence on those guys, then you in bad shape. You as a franchise, you in bad shape. And the fact that you had to, if you got to do all that and bring the whole brigade, bring the whole city of Houston, to prove a point
Sylvester.
for,
Yeah.
yeah, like it's pointless, man.
So the thing, and not only Texas fans be happy because it's we, Nick Casario also was busy finalizing the deal for Denzel Perryman.
Hmm.
That was something that got done today, and
Yeah,
that was something that slipped through the news cycle. He signed Dalton Schultz, or is that his name, Dalton Schultz?
Dalton
yep.
Schultz,
He
Corey
signed
Littleton.
Singleton, Corey Littleton. He added pieces when we thought we ran out of money. He was still
Mhm.
adding pieces, and we all gave up on the Denzel Perryman signing, and he slipped it in there today. So maybe that's why he didn't want to go
Eh,
uh
eh,
And
Yeah, I mean,
he was at
hold on.
a different pro day. He was
He's
at
talking
the
about one of the this.
UTSA.
Yeah, he was at SMU. He was at
Yeah,
SMU.
yeah.
Um, so let's talk about the two biggest things that happened on Sunday. While while we were all, resting and all that, we woke up to some early bird news at like 7 o'clock Central Time in the morning that Nick Casario had re-signed and extended Laramie Tunsil to a
Yeah.
3-year, $75 million contract with $50 million of it guaranteed,
And
ensuring that he's gonna be with the team for the next 4 years. And then on top of that, he say, "Oh, you thought I was finished? Hold up, wait a minute. Y'all thought I was finished?" He came back with another one and traded Broken Arrow, as White Mike would say. He traded Broken Arrow to the Dallas Cowboys for a fifth and a sixth round pick. And then he followed up the next, what is that, later on that afternoon.
Corey
And,
Little.
and with the Corey Littleton, with the Dalton Schultz, and the Devin Singletary trifecta.
On
So
Monday.
Putting in work.
and Nick Casario was not playing no games this past
Yeah.
weekend. And Nick Casario is actually doing what I always say. He's making common sense moves, and he's showing he dropping his nuts a little bit. He dropping his nuts a little bit. So we gonna be able to see how that is moving forward. What are y'all thoughts about the contract signing and the trade and everything like that? What you got, Jules?
I mean, I was the first person complaining that I didn't see any 2 or 3 year deals on decent, solid players. But the players he got are solid. They're 1 year deals, and he can also re-sign them halfway through the season or even after season before the season started if they perform well. So you have a Schultz that can be a breakout tight end for us in this system going forward. If he breaks out like he's supposed to, you signing him for the future, 3 or 4 year deals. Then you have a couple other more some low key free agents that can do the same thing. So even though they're on a 1 to 2 year deal now, doesn't mean they can't be extended next offseason if they show up. And that's how you build your roster. I don't think Devin Singletary gonna be here much longer, especially if they go running back in the first second round. But he might be a 1 year deal and really be out of here. But other than that, I think it's house for most of players he signed. And I think if we signed 14 players, if all of them show up and shot, I think if he can sign at least 7 or 8 of those players going forward, that's your roster going forward.
I mean, he's found a lot of quality depth pieces. I mean, you can go from Hassan Ridgeway to Sheldon Rankins to solidify your defensive tackle position. Especially given it depth when it was a weak point when you were relying on Malik Collins and you know CDL King, Roy
You mean
Lopez.
you mean spin move specialist, Colin?
Yes, hey, that boy got that wicked spin move, man. So
And don't go nowhere.
not a well, but that and then signing Jimmy Ward. I mean, it's been a lot of quality, and people want to make fun about the receivers, um, receivers that we signed and everything like that, but those were quality. I feel like quality low budget signings. We had, what they call it, friend of the pod, Sarge, on the spaces with us, giving us a breakdown about Noah Brown. And Noah Brown is, he said one thing about Noah Brown is that he can catch and he can separate. And that's something that we lack, huh?
He's a damn good blocker too.
Yeah, he can block. He can do everything that you need. He's a willing blocker. So I mean, like he just the biggest criticism was that he didn't get the reps in Dallas, playing behind CeeDee Lamb and having to split reps with all these other players, Gallup and all these other guys that were there. So he had to find his niche. But I think here he's going to get plenty of opportunity.
Right.
Um,
I think.
and Robert Woods, huh?
Excuse me. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
He good. Go ahead.
I just think that Nick took a road that we did not know he was going.
Mm-hmm.
Like he went down a path that we wasn't expecting him to go, but he got us to the results that we were looking for. And I was a big critic of Nick early on about, hey man, what are you doing, man? Why aren't you signing anybody? Why aren't you signing Larry Tunsil to create more cap space so we can go into the free agency market ready? How come you didn't get rid of Cooks yet? What are we doing? We haven't signed anybody but Robert Woods. I think I think he just figured out, or he already knew what he was going to do, and which was not spend a lot of money on each individual player, get some quality players without overspending, and then fill a lot of holes so that when we go into this draft, he's not pigeonholed to say, "Oh, I've got to take a wide receiver here. I've got to take a defensive tackle right here." And so I really was impressed at the end of the day with what Nick Casario went through and how he got us to where we at now. So
Yeah,
He
these
went the,
moves. Go ahead.
no, I was just saying he went the long way. Go ahead, Mike.
right,
Yeah, I mean he started off going after these signings that nobody wanted, like Mike Boone and Robert Woods for the most part. I'm like, what is going on? Right as the big signings are happening, and then kind of course corrects, and he lowered the bar quite a bit. But then comes in, boom, we got Jimmy Ward. Okay, we trade for Shaq Mason. We give a 6 or 7 pick. Okay, and then we bring in Perriman. We fix a lot of holes, Schultz, to where we feel like we don't have to take a player at this particular spot, and we really raise the floor at each position. And now, obviously, we still need a center, quarterback, obviously, too, but there's not a whole lot of massive pressing needs to where, okay, you have to take a wide receiver at 12, for example. So, and none of the contracts were crazy. They were, short term. Hey, we get these veteran leaders in here, kind of build the culture, and don't tie up any money beyond 2 or 3 years. So you can pull a Chicago next year and just lay the hammer and go out and get the best players at each position. So, and you can outbid anyone. So I think it was a very crafty, very savvy move by him.
Yeah, I mean it's turning out I've said it. You said the right phrase, course correct. I've said it before. Nick Casario has always been able to course correct, even from the very moment he stepped foot down in Houston with that trade with Bernard McKinney and was it Shaq Lawson or Carl Lawson? What's his name?
Jack
Shaq,
Lawson, yeah.
Shaq Lawson,
yeah, Shaq
and
Lawson.
able to
The
move,
run, the quarterback
move,
he tried signed.
yeah, like being able to move off players with ease and circling back the wagon and regrouping and coming back even stronger. I mean, we can all say that from year one to year two of Nick Casario, the team itself was a better overall product on the field compared to the first year.
Correct.
And then, hopefully if we, do everything like we're doing now, the team that's going to be put out on the field next season is going to be a totally better product than what was put out there this past season, which garnered us to having the number 2 overall pick. But with that being said, since we're talking about, not being pigeonholed into taking certain players, let's transition on into this pick number 12 and the prospects that are going to be available at pick 12. Just for people who are just new to what's been happening, the Houston Texans have the number 12 pick in the NFL draft this year due to the Deshaun Watson trade with the Cleveland Browns, which garnered us 3 first-round picks, and this is the second first-round pick of this Cleveland Brown trade. So we're picking number 12. Thank you, Deshaun Watson and the Cleveland Browns, who made a trade themselves, and now they don't have a first, second, or third round pick this year. So let's go ahead and talk about pick 12. Any prospects that y'all see that y'all will want at 12, and we'll talk about other options as well.
Well, I'll go first. And since all the free agency moves and all this solidifying the cornerback situation, the linebacker situation, all that stuff, and getting what you want in your secondary, I'm gonna go with Tyree Wilson at number 12. That's my pick. A DN. I always said I want DN next year because I thought it was more of a luxury pick and more of a win now kind of pick for going to next year with the big cap space and all that stuff. But I think now I like to see Tyree Wilson at number 12.
Um, can I say this for you, Jules? Uh, what if he's not there? Who do you like if he's not there? Because I really don't see him making it to 12.
I trade down.
You would trade down at that point,
I trade down at the point. Yeah.
and then who would you kind of target if you traded down? Not to put you on the spot or anything, but just trying to, you know,
Well, I guess the highest rated receiver would be Bijan,
okay.
and maybe a nice cornerback, but receiver or running back. I go to if I can trade down. So Bijan or the highest rated receiver they wanted.
Cause that's something like what I would say too. Like if Christian Gonzalez somehow makes it to 12,
Yeah, you run to Kansas City and you make the pick for him.
yeah, you run up to the podium, you get that, you put him next, you put him across from Derek Stingley, and you've created one of the best back secondaries in the NFL. This is a passing league.
Right.
And better way to shut it down than to have a secondary who can shut down two wide receivers and play in the back end.
Yeah.
But again, even like what I told you, if he's not there, um, of course, people know my favorite guy. I feel like at two, once we get Bryce Young, you've got to give him some weapons.
Correct.
I don't think you can wait for year two to give him weapons. I think you need to give him the most weapons that he can get right now. There's two guys at that position that could ultimately give the ultimate weapons that I feel like. Number one, of course, is Zay Flowers. And I just think that Zay
Hmm.
Flowers gives you something that we don't have, right? So like
Right.
we've got big wide receivers. Thank you, AD, for the visuals. Um, like if Zay Flowers gives you the ability to have an athletic playmaker, something that the Texans haven't seen ever. I mean, honestly, ever. I mean,
Ever?
we've never had ever. We've never had a playmaker like this. We've never had a Tyreek Hill. We've never had a Antonio Brown. We've never had a Steve Smith. We've never had a quick, agile guy that can shake down receiver cornerbacks, that can make plays like he can over the top and underneath. That route right there that you're looking at, he stabs outside with double coverage. He's flanked with a safety in the corner, and he still beats them to the spot. Um, he's just amazing with the ball. He's just electric. And honestly, I don't know if I can recall a single Texas football player that has his abilities. And I just think that Mechie gives you what I believe JSN can give you. And that's a great slot receiver that can get open at any time, who can catch the ball and is a check down king where you can just get him the ball anytime you need to. He can bail you out. Same thing with Woods. I think Woods running underneath and Woods, his ability to get open does that as well. But do you have the speed that Zay Flowers can offer you? And can you get the electricity and the excitement that put on your team that has defensive coordinators asking themselves, okay, how are we going to shut this guy down? What if in the Shanahan offense that Slovic is going to implement, if you put Zay Flowers at running the jet sweeps coming across the from one side to the other, they have to account for that. And just like we saw in the Super Bowl, they even did the deal where they did the fake jet sweep and sent him back out into the flats. That is something that you can scare defensive coordinators with. And I think Zay Flowers will be the ultimate wide receiver coming out of this draft. I think he is Antonio Brown. I think he is Steve Smith. He plays with a nasty aggression. He plays with a bad malcontent. He does not like DBs. He is insist on getting in the end zone. He played with a very poor quarterback. He didn't play with Stroud. He didn't play with Caleb Williams. He didn't play with a top name quarterback. And he was one of the only. He didn't have a great running back. He was the only guy on their offense who was catching balls, and he still had 1,000 yards this year. Um, People say, "Yeah, Chris, he's too small." Well, guess what? He's bigger than Jordan Addison. I think Jordan Addison weighed out at 173 at the combine, and Zay weighed 185. Um, well, Chris, I don't know if he can play outside. You're watching right now. He's on the outside. That's what he does. He can do the jet sweeps. There goes that fake jet sweep. You can't stick with him. He's too fast. And in this offense, they already spoke about it in the press conference. We need playmakers. We're going to get the ball out of the hands of our quarterback and get it in the hands of playmakers. And what better guy to have than Zay Flowers for Bryce Young with his great anticipation, with his ability to read the defense quickly, to get to the ball to a guy like that. And so that I think would take the top off of everything that we're trying to do on offense. You got your tight end, you got two big receivers already in Brown and with Nico Collins. You've got a solidified slot with Mechie, and you have a true veteran with Robert Woods, Bobby Trees. And what better way to give an electric playmaker that is almost unstoppable than Zay Flowers at 12? And then the second guy I had was Bijan Robinson, but I've already talked too much about Zay. I'll let somebody else talk about him. Zay
So
Flowers, that's the way to go. I promise you guys, man. I'm the guy that told everybody in the Clowney draft, don't get Clowney, man. Trade down. He plays defensive end, and we're gonna move him to outside linebacker. Don't do it. Trade down and get Aaron Donald. I'm the same guy that said, don't worry about these quarterbacks. Go after Patrick Mahomes. He's the guy that we need. Patrick Mahomes. And we missed him by 2 draft picks, and we ended up with Deshaun Watson, who was also pretty good, but it turned out you know professional for us. But I'm telling you, even if you don't trade down, Zay Flowers is going to be worth the number 12 pick. And if you don't see him on the Texans, you're going to see him on another team acting a fool. And that's when you're going to say, man, we should have grabbed him. And it'll be too late. Zay Flowers, man, Houston, Texas, number 12 pick, baby.
so we talked about, Zay. Let's talk about another receiver that had the pro day today. Let's talk about Jackson Smith and Jigba, aka Jesus Christ and Jigba. You
Can't do
know,
that. Okay.
let's talk about him because the people love them some Jesus Christ and Jigba, man. They talk about him like he walk on water. He the best receiver that ever played the game. You see this right here. You never seen a receiver do anything of this magnitude of getting that foot down in bounds, just doing things, playing against Utah and catching, unreal over the shoulder passes. I ain't never seen nobody catch an over the shoulder pass like that before. That's just amazing. These things, the body control that he has, the route running that he has. Look at this play here. Just juke him out. Go ahead. Jesus Christ and Jiggle.
Watch,
God.
watch the line
Hey,
come catch him. Dude,
uh, at the end,
the
very
linebacker caught him.
hey. But he is a slot guy. If you look at all these plays, he's in the slot.
Yeah.
He made a man miss in the Utah game. I mean, most of this highlight package is gonna be the Utah game, where he had almost 400 yards.
300 yards, yeah.
400 yard that 380 some yard game made him Jesus Christ and Jigba. Once again, another play
Did
from the
AD in that game, that number 2 that was guarding him, he was a wide receiver. This was the number 2 was a wide receiver, and this was the first game he ever played at corner because the guy that played corner was going to the draft.
man. Let's look at this play he made on the Akron corner, man. That will never play on Sunday.
Akron is famous for his corners.
Yes, shutdown,
Oh, look, he ran a jet sweep.
a sweep.
It's a sweep against Purdue. And look at him. He keeps going and going and going and going and going. The Energizer Bunny, Jesus Christ, and Jigba.
So can I say from the voice and the shots that y'all throwing about this cat, y'all don't want him at all at 12, right?
No, I think he's a highly he's a great receiver, man. No shade as far as that. It was a lot of shade earlier, but
A lot of shade.
um, like he's a talented player, man. I think he's a damn good player. I think that he benefited from his system, just like Olave benefited, just like Gary Wilson benefited, just like Marvin Harrison Jr. is benefiting. Do I think that he's the best receiver that ever came out of Ohio State? No. I think that one is coming up next year.
Right.
Um, the and that's my thing. The way that people talk, like I understand you like a player. Certain people like players, think that they're good players, but don't hype players up to be something that they probably won't be. I mean, we talk about Marvin Harrison Jr. He's the second coming. He's the real second coming.
Right.
He's the guy that has shown that he is that guy. There's no doubt about it.
The
He has
height,
all
the
the measure,
speed, the weight.
the height, the speed, the physical, the physicalness he brings at the receiver position, the way he fights for balls.
Guy you
He
trade up.
has, huh?
He's a guy that you trade up for.
Right.
Especially this is nice.
He's a guy that's going top 3 in the NFL draft next year.
And they do you know the thing? If you stop this tape right now and put on a John Mechie tape, you're gonna look at the exact same receiver.
Mm-hmm.
Neither
And
one has 4.2 speed or 4.3 speed, but they always get open and they're always there for the quarterback. They are good wide receivers. They weren't just the best wide receivers ever. And I
yeah,
think people have forgotten who John Mechie is and who he's going to be for us because he's literally that slot that makes your quarterback better and that gives that opportunity for your quarterback to find the check down and the crossing route.
Um, like for the longest time, I kind of was pushing that narrative and felt the same way about JSN. Um, being from the land of caucus, as you would say, I can't say what that Panthers fan called him, but for the people that were in that space, anytime I hear his name now, I'll think of that instead.
Oh,
Well,
Um,
what was it? Jackson Smith, that nigga?
that
Jackson that
these
Smith, and I
Yeah.
was like, oh my god. But I mean, look, he is silky smooth of a route runner. He has great body control, acrobatic catch artist. Um, he does everything that Mechie does extremely well. JSN does at an even better level. Like
okay.
there is a reason that he was hyped up as much as he was. As far as the slot usage thing, I felt the same way, and I was like, okay, let me see if I'm 100% right about this. That he would just be limited out of the slot because you watch him on tape, especially that Utah game where he had 8,000 yards. You're like, okay, is he ever not in the slot? Because even that game, Garrett Wilson was sitting out because that was their last game. That was their bowl game. So he had no reason to play. Olave, who was picked right after him in the draft, he didn't play either. So I'm like, okay, here's your chance. And he played almost exclusively in the slot again. But then you think, well, okay, Justin Jefferson was used the same way at LSU. And his slot snap percentage is like 19% for the Vikings. And then I did some digging and went through the top 50 receiving leaders last year. I looked at all their slot snap percentage. I jotted it all down. And then guys like Amon-Ra St. Brown, guys like Keenan Allen, Cooper Kupp, that you would think have a lot of the same skill sets as JSN. Their slot snap percentage, 43%, 53%, 46%. So I think if we drafted JSN, I don't think we will, but if we do, he's going to split slot snaps with Mechie. They're going to rotate. They're going to probably about a 50-50. And even though there's plenty of their high-end skills kind of being the same,
Yeah.
I don't think it matters that much. Like, I think they're both always going to get open because how many teams have the DBs to cover both those guys and cover, a dynamic running back? And, oh, look, Bryce is taking off now. Like you always have to have a spy or always be aware of that threat. Um, so I don't think that's too much of a concern. Obviously, I like Zay Flowers a lot too. I've been pushing that agenda for at least 3 months now at this point. But my preference is definitely to trade back, unless Jalen Carter falls into her lap.
Now,
Right.
words out my mouth, man. Jalen Carter is the ultimate option. I've talked about it multiple times in Texas Twitter Spaces. Hey, if Jalen Carter makes it past 5, if Seattle passes on Jalen Carter, Nick Casario, get your ass on the phone and call the Detroit Lions
Yep.
and give up what you gotta get to get Jalen Carter. If the Houston Texans come out of a draft with a quarterback, Bryce Young, and a defensive tackle in Jalen Carter,
Yeah.
I don't give a damn. I'm as a Texan fan, I'm talking my shit.
Right.
You can't tell me nothing. I got the best defensive prospect, and I got the arguably the best quarterback prospect in the draft. Two positions that we desperately needed, and we got the best of both. Don't talk to me. You cannot see. Don't look in my eyes. Look away from me. You can't tell me shit.
The damn thing.
So
So can I play devil's advocate right quick?
go ahead, devil.
If he slides down past to 8, 9, there's no red flags for his pro day. There's no red flags for his issues with losing weight and can't finish his
Yeah,
drills. Are
there's
we just all going based on his dynamic and dominant performance this year?
there's two red flags. The one in both hands of the dude who ushers the plane in. You just usher that plane in. You come this way,
Right.
plane over here, drop off Jalen Carter right there with the red carpet, man. That's the only two red flags you should worry about, brother. But no, you're right. They there are some questions when you're talking about is his character, and I don't necessarily know that that's true, but the red flags are starting to come up. I mean, just on decision making alone, right? It's
Right.
not.
Because
Yeah,
I know Adam Schefter or somebody got killed
right.
right after the championship game. They said he had some red flags, and everybody like, oh no, you're reading to it, you trying to kill kids man slander, and
Right.
after that, it's been coming out that
Red
his decision making is not real great. He just got pulled over 2 weeks ago for speeding, knowing he had a tragic accident 2 months prior to that situation of killing somebody. Not saying that he was driving, not saying that it was his fault. He probably shouldn't have been there at the time, but it doesn't look good like his maturity level is there.
and
So are you ready to risk a cat that's not really mature at 12? If everybody let him slide,
but to back what you're saying, Jules. I think even before we heard about the car accident, a lot of us on here, probably all four of us, were talking about the guy taking plays off,
right,
about him not being in shape, about him making an amazing play on one play and then standing there with his hands on his hip the next play. And
right,
it means that he's not listening to his coaches. He's not getting in shape or pushing himself while at Georgia. How is that going to change when coming to the pros? So yeah, there is that to speak about,
Right, and he didn't
yeah, because
play.
like
Go
go ahead.
ahead.
Like I said, I know Larry talked about it and Chris talked about it is that
Shout out
he's
to
going through
another
some issues.
pod.
Yeah, he's going through some issues with the trial and everything. But you skipped the combine because it's you. You didn't come back and do any on drill drills, on the field drills. Then you come to your combine and your pro day, and the biggest pro day that you have, and you can't finish drills.
Now,
That's some red flags.
do y'all think we've got the head coach that can help correct some of those mistakes he's going through? And another thing what's gonna happen, and it will happen before the draft, probably real close to the draft, there's going to be another video that comes out.
Mm-hmm.
They produced the
Yeah.
race car video when they was racing. They will produce it and
Right.
look worse than what, not worse than what it is, because it was a bad situation.
Mm-hmm.
But they are
Right.
gonna produce that video. They're gonna produce that. They're gonna produce him lying to the police officer, telling them no, he wasn't there, and
The
that's just
transcripts.
that just could it just could add to pushing them further and further down. Hopefully, right into our laps.
Yeah, it's gonna be a snowball effect. So what you got, Mike G?
Yeah, because
Yeah, I mean, the concern with Carter is the conditioning because he oftentimes, I'm watching SEC games, I'm watching Georgia. I'm like, where's Jalen Carter? Like, he hasn't even been in this drive at all. Um, and also the mental health aspect because you go through like a traumatic event like that where you're, even if you think you're 5% responsible for what happened, that weighs on you, like most people anyway, to where you're like, damn, like if I hadn't been in that, that might not have happened. Or, and it, I don't want to really speculate, but there was some speculation that why he fled the scene was that he, might have been consuming as well. Um, Hopefully he gets past this. I think D'Amico could definitely coach him up. Um, I don't think there's like any real legal ramifications for what has happened, but there is a mental aspect to it because you show up 9 pounds heavier a week and a half later. You're supposed to be working out and eating right. Like, this is the time where you are putting your best foot forward as an athlete because your NFL dreams are about to come true. You're about to be a top 5 pick, and he
I
still
mean,
might be, but
before Chicago traded down, he was still talked about being a number one pick overall.
he
Yeah.
was.
And I think that the slide, and we see it with players all the time. When they slide and they're supposed to be top 5, top 2, or number 1 overall, and they slide, and it's a big slide. Whenever they step on that field, that good old Pringles, Ruffles, Lay's,
Never
that
change.
yeah, the all Doritos, Cheeto, all them chips are gonna be on their shoulder, and they gonna come and they gonna act a fool. Aaron Donald had a big chip on his shoulder for sliding down and being in the middle of the round when he felt like he was the best 1 or 2 defensive prospects in that draft. You know,
Mm-hmm.
we talked about it earlier. I mean, we look at Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers sat there and that camera panned to him about 45 times and him just looking after every pick. Pick
Mm,
goes by, they pan over.
mm,
And he goes out there and he's A-Rod and he, ain't A-Ron and
mm,
all that. The discount double check, Super Bowl champion, playing games and all that with the Jets and fiddling faddling for the last 3 or 4 years
And the
and all of
and the
that.
dark side of the moon and shit.
Yeah, Dark Side of the Moon. Then you got doggone Ben Roethlisberger, 2-time Super Bowl champion, sitting there for hours and hours and waiting for his name
mm.
to be called. I mean, you see it all the time when these players get passed over by teams because of character concerns or whatever. I mean, you go back to Warren Sapp, Randy Moss, all of these different Hall of Fame guys that had chips on their shoulders for being picked later on and everything. Even Terrell Owens was another one. Hall of Famer that got passed over. And
Ran-
so you huh?
Randy Moss.
Yeah, like I just said, Randy Moss. So I'm like, it's you have all of these different players. That's why I'm like, if he wherever he goes, especially if he slides out the top 5, expect him to act a plum fool when it comes to the league, man.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't know who said it. I don't know if it was Mike or Chris said it, but Warren Sapp with his situation, he had
mhm.
Tony Dungy. He had
Yeah,
Tony Dungy. He had Derek Brooks to help him get
yeah.
back to where he should have been. So if
Randy
D'Amico
Moss,
Ryan,
Randy
hmm?
Moss had Danny Green.
Right. So if
Yeah,
if he had Chris Carter, right?
yeah, Chris Carter and Danny Green.
Right. So
Yeah,
if you're thinking that a defensive minded coach who loves players, who loves the game, who respects the game, who try to get the best out of all these players,
Mm-hmm.
you will hope that he can get to Jalen Carter, and Jalen Carter would respect the man, and even Burks, who teaches the D line coach as a DC now, can really go ahead and get this man straight. And then, and, I hate to play this card. I hate when people bring up this dude's name. Let this go forward. But if JJ Watt is somewhere in Houston a little bit, and he's retired, get this young man understand how he get his mind right, maturity right, and work it. Because JJ Watt is a guy who earned everything he had. If he can get JJ to work with him a little bit, he'll be all right.
Why would do it?
Hmm?
What'd you say?
I say J.J. Watt is gonna show Jalen Carter the white way to do it.
Right way to do it.
Get it done.
I hate to bring up JJ, but on this aspect, if he needs some guidance and someone just to
I
work
mean,
ethic, that's the best one to have it.
you got a lot of players that are coming back to the organization. I mean, to be honest, I look at somebody like a Trap Johnson. I know
Travis, yeah.
Travis Johnson, former Texan who's always been in Houston, staying in Houston, coming back to the organization. He would be a great influence because he had a similar path to what Jalen
Lonzo,
Carter. And so I look at it. I mean, all those examples I gave, I brought up Ben Roethlisberger. Hell, he had Bill Cowher and Jerome Bettis.
right?
Putting him through his issues or whatever. So, I mean, it's a lot of different ways we can help him here in Houston, and I think wherever he goes, there's going to be a support system around to help him, be the best player he can be. So like I said, if he makes it past five, Nick, I'm talking to you, Nick. Pick up the goddamn phone and call the Detroit Lions and make that trade, man. You making trades with Brandon Cooks. Go ahead and make that trade up to get Jalen Carter, and I think it'll all work out in the long run.
And
But the
then
last,
and then and then trade up from 33 into the back into the first and get Zay Flowers.
there you go. Another player. Look, this is the last player because we're going with the most talked about with the Zay Flowers, the Jesus Christ and Jigbas, and we the last one we're gonna talk about is Bijan, man. What are y'all thoughts about Bijan the player, Bijan the fit, and is Bijan worth the number 12 pick? Don't y'all speak at one time?
Go ahead, Chris.
Oh, okay. I figured Jules was gonna jump on it. Yeah, Bijan. I watched Bijan the other night just to watch him again and to convince myself that no, we should take Zay Flowers over Bijan. Bijan is a running back. You don't take a running back in the first. Um, we have a good running back right now. How much better is Bijan than Damon Pierce? How much better is Bijan than Jameer Gibbs? Because in my mock drafts, I'm always taking Bryce Young at 2, Zay Flowers at 12, and Jameer Gibbs at 33. And then
Mhm.
I get my center in the third round, another receiver in the third round, and then I go from there. Um, so I had to go back and watch it. And when I watched it, the guy, his footwork inside of the hole,
Mhm.
transitioning from his vision first to his feet is like a nanosecond. I mean, for him to see where he wants to go and then to shift and stutter his feet and chop his feet and cut off of one leg and cut back the other way, it is LaDainian Tomlinson style. I don't want to go Barry Sanders, but it is in that mode of the vision, the quickness, and the ability to do what he sees, and then he accelerates. Once he sees where he's going, he accelerates, and it's almost like he's walking out there while everybody else is running. His quickness is unmatched, and when you see him run, all you got to do is cross your eyes a little bit and imagine him running the outside zone with our O line and having him pick a hole or a cutback lane. He is just going to be tremendous wherever he goes. He could catch out of the backfield. You can shift him out to the slot. You could start him out at wide receiver and shift him back into the running back slot. I'm not saying start him at receiver like in the game. I'm saying he is the running back, but you set him up
Like a
the
Christian
outside,
McCaffrey.
which you like a Christian and then motion him back into the backfield and then run your play from there.
Yeah.
So he has versatility, the famous Bill O'Brien word that nobody likes, but he is truly a back. He is truly ahead of everybody else in the class. And I say that with a little bit of hesitation because I think Jahmyr Gibbs is not that far off, but Bijan. He is the complete package, man. And not many times can you find a complete package. And if you put that dude in the backfield with Damon Pierce and have them rotate, you got your lightning and thunder for years to come. You protect Bryce Young by being able to hand the ball off and gain you 5, 6, 7 yards a pop. And he would be fun to watch on Sundays.
Yeah.
So
Jules?
And he got power. I don't think people do his toughness, his run toughness. I think that's not talked about as much as possible. I mean, if you throw this cat into our offense next year, you're winning games. He's gonna win you maybe a couple games just by him being on the field. The tough downs. You need 2 yards. You need to have back passes. He's that great of a player. I mean, if you have to go with best player available at 12, and he's there at 12, and you're not really sure what you want to go forward, and you think you can get defensive help on the third round, second round, and you can develop more players, and you need a home run threat, and that you trying to get the best player at 12, you pull a trigger. He's that valued at 12.
yeah. You better not put your linebacker on him. You better not try to
Nah.
let a linebacker cover him out the backfield. My bad. Go ahead, Mike.
No, you're good. I think we were talking about the draft back in September. I mean, let's keep it real. But you know, we got some former UT folks in our group chats who, you mentioned the draft, first word out of their mouth, Bijan. It's like, chill. And I would kind of push back against that because I'm like, okay, if you're going to invest that high of a pick in a running back when we have as many needs as we have, and we don't have as many pressing needs as we did back then, but when you have as many needs as we have, you're going to invest kind of a luxury pick in Bijan Robinson when teams don't really do that for running backs, right? Like there are exceptions, Saquon Barkley, etc. But if you're going to invest that type of pick in him, when you already have a successful rookie fourth-round pick of Dameon Pierce, now you got Devin Singletary, who I think is going to be a pretty good running back for us. I was a fan of his in Buffalo. It just wasn't utilized properly. But if you're going to invest that type of pick in him, like my point all along was, okay, just keep Davis Mills then, and you're just going to run it 30 to 40 times a game and say, try and beat it. Because you're going to have to give Bijan at least 20 to 25 touches a game, and you're going to give Dameon Pierce at least 10. Like, he was really damn good. So I'm going to just keep or bring in Malik Cunningham and run the Wildcat. Like, but the midseason trade that the Niners made when they picked up Christian McCaffrey and seeing him actually stay healthy for once and crush it in their offense, I'm like, okay, if you're actually going to use him like Christian McCaffrey and you're going to give him that many receptions out of the backfield, not just, hey, we'll line him up as a trick play, gadget play at receiver a couple times a game, but he's actually going to have 7, 8, 9 catches a game. Okay, then I could see it because Texas didn't truly utilize him as much as they could have. By the way, I like Roshan Johnson a lot too. If we take him in the 5th round, I'm happy with that too. Um, if Bijan truly is at the top of the Texans board at 12, and Atlanta didn't take him, and Philly didn't take him, and Tennessee didn't take him, okay, I'm not going to put up a fight against it. Not that it'd matter if I did, but um, obviously I still prefer getting additional draft capital for the second, third round because I think that's really where you're going to get the value in this draft class. Where you're still going to get high impact, immediate starters who are going to benefit this team and be there for the long term. But like I said, if he's clearly at the top of Casario and D'Amico's board, go ahead and take him. I got no issue with it.
So, Mike, you mentioned Christian McCaffrey and his ability to run and catch the ball. How do you compare Bijan to him? Because Christian McCaffrey was the eighth pick in the first round. If he's better or just as good, and he's been that player in Carolina for 3 or 4 years, and then traded to 49ers and dramatically changed their offense for the better with two subpar quarterbacks. What is your comparison to both of those players?
I they're not that far off, honestly. Um, Christian McCaffrey's got a little more speed, but Bijan's tough to bring down. I mean, there's the Marshawn Lynch element to his game for sure. Where it's like,
Yeah.
okay, he just broke 6 fucking tackles. I,
So yeah, he can be worth 12 if you compare him to Christian McCaffrey and he's a better running back than Christian McCaffrey come out of
yeah,
Stanford. I mean, 12 is really low compared to a guy that much talented.
right. It's just a matter of okay, like you are. I don't want to say you're completing a rebuild right here, but like you're using up most of your draft capital from the Watson trade with this draft class. You'll have another first next year, but for the most part, hey, we're supposed to be better this year, even if it's not reflected in a playoff run. You still expect 6+ wins this year. You still expect okay, damn near every game we better be in it. Like not just because that team didn't take it seriously, but because oh no, they're pretty good. Um, it really starts the clock, and with running backs, they're so injury prone, especially guys like Saquon Barkley and Christian McCaffrey. Like we're talking about Bijan being the best since those guys, and it's like, yeah, well, those guys are hurt all the time.
You'll be lucky if you get 10 years out of running back.
But
Right.
but the whole thing about it is having that extra first round pick. Isn't that you're supposed to use it for the reaches because your first round pick you get your need and the quarterback is definitely need. Don't your second round pick like even like a Zay Flowers, even though you don't think he's worth a 12 pick, but because he's a home run hitter, that you can take that extra
But,
leap because you have an
but
extra first round pick.
I think the leap that you take, I think the leap that you take would be to trade down, like you said earlier. That's the leap you take because now you take that prime number 12 pick and you turn it into, an extra second. And probably, if you move down further enough in the first round, potentially multiple picks, either in this, a second this year and probably a third next year or something of that nature. And now you're stockpiling more talent on your team to continue to build your team. That's the leap. That's the risk that you take because you can say I'm a pass on Bijan at 12. I'm a pass on Zay. I'm a pass on JSN at 12 and move down to 18 or 20 and still have an opportunity to get a prime player like a Luca Van Ness or get a Trent Simpson at linebacker, a speed linebacker, or get, any one of these other players and still have an option to get a Bijan at 18 or 20, still have an option to get a JSN at 18 or 20, still have an option to get a freaking Zay Flowers at 18 or 20. That is the risk that I feel like that's more of a risk than just saying let's just take this guy because we have this pick. Turn that pick into something more because that pick can turn into your starting center. That pick can turn into your starting receiver, your starting running back, your starting middle linebacker. You're starting, another corner. It's a lot of different options that you can turn that number 12 pick into which is why I wanted to bring up the trade down option that you brought up earlier, Jules. I think to me, this is right in Nick's wheelhouse. Like this is setting up where Nick Casario does what Nick Casario has always wanted to do. And trade down out of this premium pick, which is what New England did a lot. Trade out of the first round. If they were picking in the high 20s, trade down to the bottom of the first round. I mean, you see New England and do it all the time. This is what Nick Casario has been waiting on for the longest. I finally have an opportunity where I can take a premium pick and I can trade down and garner a lot of assets. I mean, he did it with last year with the we had the same pick. We had number 12 last year. We traded down from 12 to 15 and gained, some fourth round. I think what was it, a fourth round pick?
Right.
And a sixth.
It was 13. 13, 15, wasn't it?
Yeah, 13, 15. We
Yeah,
picked
13,
up a couple six, and I think there was a fourth too.
Right.
Yeah, so you pick those extra picks. It's turning to be used, I think, to trade up again to get
Mechie.
Mechie in the second round. So I mean, that maneuvering is right in Nick's wheelhouse. So I mean, this is on a silver platter for you.
All right, so let me play devil's advocate again. You know what I'm saying? Because you raved about Jalen Carter. You raved about Jalen Carter. So if Jalen Carter is there at 12, you still trade down?
Nope.
Okay. Now I see how it is.
I think he's the best prospect. Like if the quarterbacks weren't who they were, if this was like last year with Kenny Pickett and Malik Willis and all those guys, then Jalen Carter would have been the pick at number 2.
Right, but
day.
For the UT fans and for the running and for the fans said that Bijan is actually rated higher than any other player in this draft. If he's there at 12, he is the best prospect of
best
all
player,
players.
yeah. And because if he's there at 12 and he's the best prospect, there's gonna be a lot of teams calling up to say, "Hey, you didn't know Bijan was gonna be there at 12. Hey, who is that? Who just lost their running back? What team picking later just lost their running back?
Buffalo lost Devin Singletary to us, so they could
I
be.
I wouldn't even say Buffalo. I'm trying to think of somebody else that just
Cowboys.
lost.
You talking about the Eagles, Miles Sanders?
The Eagles, but they're picking at 10. But I'm saying the Eagles, Detroit.
The Cowboys.
Oh yeah, Detroit.
Detroit.
Well, he's
with pick 18. Can say, you know what? We got Swift, but we've already fallen out. He's injury prone. We've already kind of fallen out of favor with DeAndre Swift. I think it's been reported that they're looking to move on from DeAndre Swift. They've already lost Jamal Williams to the Saints. So I mean, if they sit up here and say, with the options that we have on offense, and we put Bijan Robinson behind Goff, and our retool offensive line and our retool receiving core, and we've already been able to score points with the offensive mind of Johnson, Bijan would just be the ultimate X factor in that offense, man.
Would you trade with the Cowboys?
What pick are they? 20?
They're 26.
26.
Oh no,
that's too low for you.
If he lasts that long, Dallas just takes him.
Yeah. But I mean, if Dallas wanted to trade up to 12, you're going to have to give me some significant assets to move down 14 spots.
Right.
So
would your Houston heart allow you to trade Bijan to Dallas?
That's fine. We ain't got to play him but once every 4 years.
Right.
I can hear Swan in my head. Oh, hell no.
You can hear Mike talking the same shit. You can't let him go to the Cowboys.
I can hear Bishop in my head too. Yeah.
Yeah, y'all saying right now, but there's people in the fan base that would go crazy if if Houston traded with Dallas and they took Bijan, it would go fucking lose it.
Hey.
Just saying.
Frankly, what's that old movie? What they say, frankly, my dear?
I don't give
a damn.
Tears in the bucket.
Great
spot for somebody to trade up for Bijan, though.
Yeah,
it is.
That's a
spot,
great.
and that's why I say Detroit will be an option because they're picking 18. Like
Mhm.
moving from 12 to 18 and still being able to get a player like Zay or JSN or Luca Van Ness or Trenton Simpson. All of those players are still in the realm in their range of players, and you may have players that slip. You may have a Weatherspoon that slips to 18. Do you take a Weatherspoon at 18? Hell yeah, you take a Weatherspoon at 18. And so that just it's a lot of different options that are available to me. And this is just me personally. I think trading down is your best option. And it's kind of I think it's one of those deals where you don't trade down before the draft, you trade on draft night when you see how it's falling. That's when you make the trade. But other than that, man, that's to me the best option with number 12.
Yeah, I shared this with y'all in the group chat. I just
Mhm.
want to run it by y'all again to make sure. So I'll play around with the mock draft simulators a little bit. I'm gonna be working on my own mocks here
Do you,
pretty
Mike?
soon.
Do you do a lot of mock
A
drafts?
little
I
bit, a
would
little
never. I
bit.
would
Yeah, yeah,
never know.
yeah. Breaking news. And so I had a couple trades pop up earlier. I was like, all right, let me see how this kind of unfolds. So Washington offered pick 16, pick 47 to move up to pick 12. And they drafted a corner. I was like, okay, I'm on board. So we ended up moving down 4 spots. We get pick 47 in the second round. Then Baltimore called. Despite them not having that many picks, they desperately need a really good corner. So they move up from 22 to 16, and we get back pick 86 and 124. So moving down from 12 to 22, we pick up picks 47, 86, and 124. Would y'all approve of that trade?
To
Yeah.
22.
Yeah, the 22, and you get an extra second and an extra third and an extra fourth. So now you're working with 2 seconds, 3 thirds, and 2 fourths. That you can't beat that, man. And you still picking in the first round. So you can't beat that at all. What do you think, Jules?
I mean, I can't deny it. Like I said, I'm not a really strong opponent for anybody at 12. So trading down is probably the best way going down, and you can still get a high quality player at 18, 21, 19, and you get pick up additional draft capital in the mid rounds, which where Nick excels at mid round draft picks because he's a help out scout and personnel guy.
What players does that put us at 22 to be able to get? Because I would think Bijan and Zay would be gone at that point.
I think you still will be in the Addison range. I still think you would be in the Trenton Simpson range. I still think that you would be possibly in the Luca Van Ness range. You still
Mhm.
have the prospects of Breesy
Gibbs,
and yeah, if you want to reach for Gibbs at 2022, then you do that.
Maybe
mm,
Kalijah Cancer.
Elijah Cansey would be there
right?
at 22. So I mean, you have a lot of different options, and to be honest, it puts you in a position where you can swing big on some of the better defensive prospects because I think it's going to be offensive heavy in the first round. And later on in that second round, you're going to get some damn good defensive prospects and players at later on in that round.
I just don't want to take us too far out of the good player selection at 22. I guess you still find the same type of dudes at 22.
I honestly think Zay Flowers is still going to be there at 22.
I don't.
Because I don't think Baltimore's going to go there. The Giants at 25, Minnesota 23. Those are the first spots I think that he could possibly go.
I, I'm
Unless
I'm actually scared that Tennessee takes them right before us.
no. They got
To be honest, if Eagles
Green,
pass on Bijan, Tennessee is taking Bijan.
yeah, Tennessee. You got Green Bay right after us with 2 picks.
Yeah, but Green Bay just spent a high. Green Bay, first of all, like Mike said before, they don't like to take first round receivers. And
Sure.
second of all, they just took Christian Watson last year. So
and
Okay.
that's
Romeo Dobbs. Yeah.
yeah, that's their quota. That's the quota.
That's all they going for, huh?
Yeah, because they getting rid of Aaron Rodgers. They almost about to be in the rebuild mode themselves.
Now, and also the Chargers at 21 would maybe want a wide receiver. Um, my
What's
question
going
is,
on?
huh?
What's going on?
Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know. But my question is also, wouldn't Baltimore be trading up for a receiver more than a corner?
No, that corner group is completely depleted.
So what happened? They lost Marcus Peters.
They don't have anybody. They got Jalen Armour Davis, who they drafted, I think, last year.
Oh, and they
Um,
Humphreys.
Yeah, but you talking about older guys, and and
I mean, but their biggest thing as far as keeping as far as
Lamar Jackson.
Lamar Jackson is having a receiver to throw to.
well,
yeah,
they
okay,
they've
they
been
still got
spending
Humphrey, but that's
a
about it.
lot of picks on receivers. Devin Duvernay was what, a second or third round pick. Um, what's the guy they just drafted in the first round the other year? What's his name?
Bateman.
Pyramid. Pyramid.
Bateman.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean they've invested a lot
yeah, but
into
they've chosen the wrong guys, right?
exactly. This doesn't mean that they're gonna choose the right guy this time.
Yeah.
Have a propensity to choose the wrong receiver, and then you got to look at the offensive coordinator that they brought in. Isn't he from Georgia?
Yeah.
Georgia,
Yes.
Mr.
Yeah,
Georgia.
they brought the OC from Georgia. I mean, like that don't scream, I'm about to throw air the ball out. I'm about to do this and that. Like this just screams, I'm about to do the same thing I did with Brock Bowers with Andrews. Like that, like
Oh,
it
Lamar.
don't. Isaiah Likely, they about to use Isaiah Likely
Mhm.
like Georgia did freaking Brock Bowers. Like it doesn't scream like they about to do something transcendent. That's why I'm like Baltimore will likely go corner, especially after they invested their money in Roquan. They're gonna try to shed some of that heavy contract from that secondary with Humphreys and Peters, and they're gonna try to get younger at that position.
Mm.
I mean, hell, at this point, they might be more likely to take another tight end
Yeah.
at 22 than another receiver and just
They-
go, all right, we're going to run 3 or 4 tight end sets.
Don't be surprised if they go running back too.
Yep, that's an option.
They may go Gibbs at 20. Was it Baltimore picking
22. I
22?
mean, Bijan could fall. Like, if he
Yeah.
does make it past 11 and 12, there's not really a spot for him to fall until 21, 22. I could see the Chargers taking him if he does slide there.
Mm.
With the Austin Eckler situation, they haven't been able to run the ball for years. They can't stop the run and they can't run the ball. So that may be their opportunity to kind of change that.
Yeah, and also Eckler is more of a red zone pass catching fantasy back more than a 2020 back running back. So that would be a great pickup for them if he falls that deep.
I mean, there's a lot of different options, a lot of different scenarios. I think closer and closer when we get to the draft and we keep doing our mock draft series, we get to play around and see what it's gonna be. I think there's gonna be some more trades happening, here and there before the closer we get to the draft. But I mean, it's the Texans are in prime position to do a lot of different things and elevate this team a lot of different ways and be a better team coming out of this 2023 NFL draft, man. But
Yeah.
y'all, do y'all have any final thoughts before we go ahead and sign off for the night?
CJ, CJ,
Chef
CJ,
Casario cooking.
Mm,
CJ. Oh, here's on a
The,
serious thing. Who you think gets restructured or extended this next out? The next person gets extended. Is it Shaq
Shaq,
Mason or
Shaq
is it
Mason,
Howard?
Shaq Mason, but wait for
yeah, Mason.
they're
Just stay.
gonna, yeah, they're gonna Shaq Mason's gonna get done probably during training camp, and Howard, they gonna see how he plays. Honestly, I think they're gonna wait to see how he plays till about maybe trade deadline because they may end up trying to trade him. Um,
Charlie
it,
Heck.
I think
yeah,
Malik Collins gets renegotiated too.
yeah,
Structure.
and
What about
Steven Nelson.
Nelson? I was about to say Nelson because Nelson said
Mhm.
something earlier.
Yeah, be on the lookout for Steven Nelson. So I mean, it's a lot of different things. We got a lot to talk about going into the off season, but Chris,
CJ, CJ.
Might get started on that Bryce Young extension. Get started on that
yeah.
early.
Started on that one.
I mean, how do you go from CJ and how am I live myself to root for Bryce Young? I mean, a national champion winner, a Heisman winner, a great young man could throw the ball. How can you just? How can be so disappointed? It's just I'm living with myself. That I got draft Bryce Young. I can't live with myself. I'm just no longer a Texas fan.
Any final comments, Mike?
I mean, the Bryce is right. It's a great day.
A great day in the land of Texans fans. So, with that being said, Jules, what can we find you on social media as always?
Jeff Bear 80. I'm always there. St. John is the nickname.
Yes, sir. Chris, what can we find? Well, talk to your wife. What can we find you on Twitter? Oh, he busy. Mike G, what can we find you on Twitter?
Yeah, at underscore Michael Gartman.
There we go. You can find Chris on Twitter at Royal Texan Fan. You can find him also on YouTube at Royal TV. See Royal TV. Hey, hey, you can find me at Bullet60 on Twitter, man, and follow the page. Please like, share, and subscribe. And go ahead and drop your comments on who y'all want at pick 12. Drop it in the comment section, and we're gonna have
Rebrand.
Just walk in for the Noahs.
Hey, no
And
problem. Hey,
all the Texas fans, man, think about JD Clowney maybe brought in as the edge. That's my last thing I wanted to say.
so hey, B.O.P fans and everybody that support the podcast, be on the lookout next week. We have a big announcement coming. Things are going to change, and we'll give you the rundown on it.
They're firing me.
We'll
Free.
give you the rundown on it. So with that being said, man, this has been another episode of B.O.P. Man, this is your boy AD signing off with C. Royal, Jules, and Mike G in the building. We'll holler at y'all next time, man. Peace.
Peace.